Hi, I'm Bishop Allyson Abrams. Welcome to the Bishop Allyson Abrams Show, where I believe truth empowers. Each week, I will bring topics to you that I believe you should be made aware of. I will give you my professional opinion on many topics and probably some necessary suggestions too. We will talk politics. We will talk religion. We'll talk real estate, health, and education. I have some great topics to share with you on today. Stay tuned. I'll be right back. NBC says, "You're fired," to Donald Trump. Now, many of us have watched The Apprentice show. If you've never watched it, I would suggest to go back and watch some of those shows. But most people know that at the end of the show, each week, Donald Trump fires someone who is a part of one of the teams. And so now NBC has had the wonderful opportunity to tell Mr. Trump that he's now fired. This comes on the heels of Mr. Trump's June 16th presidential campaign kickoff speech, where he made some pretty insulting, at best, statements. Donald Trump made some statements about Mexicans and immigrants. And as a response to those statements, NBC has now said that Mr. Trump, who sponsored the Miss America pageant as well as the Miss Universe pageant, those pageants will no longer air on their station, as well as the well-known show, The Apprentice. Those have all been dumped. And NBC Universal has said, due to the recent derogatory statements by Donald Trump regarding immigrants, they have now dumped his shows. NBC Universal is ending its business with Mr. Trump for good. Also, when you look at it, the Republican, Mr. Trump, the statements are scathing, really. He said that the campaign, during his campaign speech, if elected, he plans to build a Great Wall. This is ridiculous at best. He plans to build a Great Wall on the border and make Mexico pay for it. Mexico is now going to have to pay for this wall that Donald Trump would be building. Pay for the wall because Mexico is sending the United States, he said sending us, the United States, immigrants who are rapists, who are drug dealers, who are criminals. There's a lot of stereotyping there, Mr. Trump, with these statements that you're making. But this is what he said during his presidential campaign speech. I always tell people, whether you like someone or not, it's still good to know what they are saying in speeches, what they're putting out in the media. And so many persons I know did not watch Donald Trump's campaign speech for president. However, I felt it necessary to listen. So my spouse and I listened to Donald Trump's speech to see what ridiculous things he was going to say were his platform. And this is one of the most ridiculous things that I've heard, to put up a wall at Mexico's border. And so I wanted to share with you his actual letter that he wrote in response to NBC Universal dropping his pageants as well as The Apprentice. And so it comes on the Trump letterhead. And they're saying, as of today, Donald Trump is no longer affiliated with NBC. So they acknowledge that Mr. Trump has, yes, been fired. However, it says Mr. Trump stands by his statements on illegal immigration, which are accurate. So now they're saying that the people that are coming over are racist, they're drug dealers, they're criminals. They're saying those are accurate statements. Those sound more like stereotypes, Mr. Trump. And so here it says NBC is weak. So now he's going to name calling for NBC Universal Studio that you've been connected with for many years, you've had a partnership with for many years, but now you're saying NBC is weak. He says here, NBC is weak and like everybody else is trying to be politically correct. That is why our country is in serious trouble. So once again, he's throwing out statements that have no validity to them. When you look at numbers, it does not show that our country is in serious trouble. It actually shows that our country is making an economic comeback. It shows that our country is turning around into the positive. But I want to finish reading this letter to you. It says, Mr. Trump says, quote, "We must have strong borders and not let illegal immigrants into the United States. As has been stated continuously in the press, people are pouring across our borders unabated. Public reports routinely state great amounts of crime are being committed by illegal immigrants." Are illegal immigrants the only ones creating crime? It says this must be stopped, and it must be stopped now. Long ago, this is Mr. Trump, I told NBC that I would not be doing The Apprentice because I'm running for president in order to make our country great again. Once again, that's making an accusation as if the country is not great now. So many of the Republicans and conservatives and Tea Party members, we know they always seem to throw out that something is wrong with our country. Okay, but it takes everybody to make a great country. It also takes politicians who can work together, who can give concessions, and who can agree that they will disagree on certain things, but not try to filibuster and hold up bills that will impact and affect the people all across the land. And so people have to work together. I'm so over people making it seem like it's the president who is the reason why things are not getting done on Capitol Hill. Well, the president is only one person. The president is not the one who's in the halls of Congress that are stopping the votes from going forth. And so let us not always want to accuse President Obama of what is not happening on Capitol Hill. Let us look at the people that we voted for. That's why voting is so important. Let us look at those that we voted for. Who do we cast our vote for in the Senate? Who do we cast our vote for in the House of Representatives? Let us look at those people and let us cast the blame where it truly goes as to why things are not getting done on Capitol Hill and why America is going the way that it is going. And so here, Mr. Trump continued, if NBC is so weak and so foolish to not understand the serious illegal immigration problem in the United States. So once again, he's now borderlining name calling once again, coupled with the horrendous and unfair trade deals we're making with Mexico, then their contract violating closure of Miss Universe and Miss USA will be determined in court. So now he's letting them know, I'm going to sue you. He's also saying that they're violating the contract that they had to stop the relationship that he had with them. Furthermore, Donald Trump says they will stand behind lying Brian Williams. I really think Mr. Trump has taken this in the wrong direction. But he's now saying that the NBC Universal Studios is standing behind lying Brian Williams, but won't stand behind people that tell it like it is, as unpleasant as that may be. So he's saying now he's the only one that's willing to tell the truth. He's the only one that's going to call a spade a spade. He's the only one in the world who's going to do anything about what's happening here in the United States, which I find very comical. However, I felt a need to share that with you on today. Let me just say, you cannot discriminate and be represented by a station that has to work with and service all people. So I believe that NBC Universal Studios did the right thing by firing Mr. Trump after hearing the scathing comments that he made during his presidential campaign speech. And so, you know, it's the right thing to do when you have a company that has to work with all cultures of people, different races, people who are diverse. You must not support people who make these kind of statements publicly. I also want to say you cannot stereotype classes of people. You cannot publicly do that and still expect to have the relationship with persons, once again, who are responsible for working with diverse groups of people. And so Mr. Trump was, in my opinion, asking for it. And I think NBC is the first organization that has really taken it serious what Mr. Trump says when he goes on these rants, to slap him on the hand and separate themselves from him. So once again, kudos to NBC. Also, Mr. Trump, we know him to be a real estate mogul. We know he has always shown himself as one who goes on rants and rages. He's been very disrespectful to the President of the United States, President Obama. And he also writes all kinds of things on his social media sites. Those who follow him on Twitter, those who follow him on Facebook, know that Mr. Trump has really taken lots of opportunities to take shots at the president, take shots at African American leaders who lead our community. And so I would like to say that it's about time that somebody stood up to Donald Trump and actually separated themselves from him while also hitting him in the pocket at the same time. Once again, Mr. Trump, you are fired. Will Netflix surpass ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox with viewers in the next few years to come? I read an article recently about the number of viewers for Netflix. I know many of you who are over 40 can remember when not having cable was one of the worst things that could happen in a household. I don't know if any of you remember when we had the cable box many eons ago, and you would move the counter down to the number that you wanted to look at. And cable was not 700 stations like we have today, or even 1,000 stations, but cable was more like about 35 to 40 stations. And so yes, cable has come a long way over the years, but now with the millennials, everything is done on computer. And so Netflix is the new thing that I believe the millennials are utilizing today to push us into the technology computer age. Analysts say that Netflix will be watched more than all major TV networks within a year. FBR Capital Markets claim in a study that Netflix, if it were a TV network, its audience would surpass the ABC, CBS, NBC, and Fox viewers. Some say the comparison, however, aren't fair. But Nielsen's ratings don't account for the use of DVRs or watching TV shows online. And so Netflix, the popularity by those who are watching, they're seeing the numbers soar. And major TV networks are becoming less and less important when you talk about home entertainment. And I have to say that I do have a Netflix account. My young college-age children, all had Netflix, and they're like, "Mom, you need to get Netflix." And I said, "Okay, let me get Netflix." And so the millennials are the one who is driving this viewership. And we know millennials do things a lot differently than those of us who are 40 and older. And so they've caused those numbers to skyrocket. And I believe that because everything from movies to TV shows to documentaries, since everything is there in one space, you don't have to change and watch different stations. Everything there is in one space. I believe that is really what is attracting the millennials. So if they want to watch something that comes on one of your local networks, they can get it there on Netflix. If they want to watch the latest movies, after the movies are released to go to DVD and to other places, they can watch it there on Netflix. If they want to find a documentary that interests them on a certain subject matter, they can find it there on Netflix. And so Netflix has become a one-stop place for the millennials. And so that's a booming thing for millennials. Most millennials have a Netflix account. And so I just want to say that, you know, if you can put it on the computer, more than likely they'll watch it. And so let's keep a watch on this over the next year or two and see if Netflix actually does have a higher viewership than ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox TV networks. Hospice. What is it? And who qualifies for it? Many persons would prefer not to think about hospice care or would like to put that out of their minds until the end when it's absolutely necessary at the last moment. Some of us have watched the news and seen that Bobby Christina, Whitney Houston's young daughter, who is only 22 years of age, has now been placed in hospice care by her father, Bobby Brown, and the guardian, her aunt. And so I wanted to talk about hospice as a health segment so that many persons would know some of the particulars. First, let me say that I worked as a hospice chaplain, being a pastor, also worked as a hospice chaplain for 7 years. And I do want to say that there are many interwoven pieces of hospice care. And so it is something that the African American community has not really taken advantage of. And so I wanted to bring this topic to you so that some of you who are faced with a decision for your loved one might be able to consider hospice care to assist you during those final days. Oftentimes, the health problems that would make someone consider or even have the discussion of hospice care is when a terminal illness is discovered. The best time to think about hospice care is after you or a loved one receives a serious medical diagnosis, oftentimes something that may be chronic or terminal, is when you would have the discussion as to if hospice care is something that you could utilize. The family of Bobby Christina, we know that she's 22 years old, had to make this serious decision. Some people felt initially that the family should have made that decision, but I would say as a pastor, as a bishop, it is never something that should be forced on anyone. You should take the time to discuss whether you feel hospice care is right for your loved one. And sometimes it's more about you processing that this person may, yes, be leaving. I've experienced that many families are in denial and don't want to accept the fact that someone is terminally ill or even someone may be leaving that you feel you can pray them to stay. And so those are very serious discussions, hard things to deal with, that sometimes families just don't deal with them well. But when you realize that this person is terminally ill, has a serious medical diagnosis, then oftentimes the hospital, the doctor will bring up hospice care. And so that is what happened with Bobby Christina. However, the family did not immediately put her in hospice care, but now after several months, they have come to the point where they realize that Bobby Christina medically does not appear that she will be getting better. And so the only choice would be to allow her to be in hospice care and to, as the aunt says, simply put her in God's hands. Hospice care focuses oftentimes on pain relief and symptom control for patients. Oftentimes that will be done in the homes, but A hospice person or patient can be signed on at the hospital, also can be signed on in a nursing facility. And so you don't have to be in your home in order to receive hospice care. You can be in a nursing facility, a skilled nursing care facility, let me say it that way, and still receive hospice care. There are team members who comprise this hospice team. One is the doctor, who must sign off on all of your care. The other is the nurse. The nurse is the one who normally comes out, monitors where the patient is, monitors the care, monitors what the other team members are doing. You always have a social worker who will be involved to make sure that if the person needs any type of assistance, that they can provide that. I also want to say hospice teams normally have spiritual care advisors, which are your clergy persons that are part of the hospice team. Yes, you can have your own pastor who will make visits, but I always tell persons it's good to have another clergy person that is assigned to you or your loved one, because when that pastor is not available, this clergy person can be assigned to make regular visits as well. And you will have other professionals. Oftentimes there's a home health aide. That is the person who will make sure that your loved one or yourself is cleaned, your linens and things are clean, and they just assist you with those things that you may need help with. And so that is your hospice care team, and those are the people that you have readily access to. Now, anyone can get hospice care. Sometimes people say, well, everybody doesn't have access to that. Well, from what I understand and from what the article says that I read, I pulled from CNN, anyone can get hospice care if they have been diagnosed with a terminal illness and the doctor thinks that they will not live more than 6 months. That's usually cutoff point for patients. If you have a terminal diagnosis that says that you have 6 months or less to live. And so if Christina's body does follow the natural course of one who does not have that brain activity, the doctors believe that she has 6 months or less to live. And so that's why now she has been placed in hospice care. Many years ago in the 70s, when hospice was really just kind of taking off, it was mostly for cancer patients. Some of you have had loved ones to pass on that had cancer and that maybe did receive hospice care. But hospice care has now expanded. When I was still serving as a chaplain, we began to have other patients that did have chronic diseases as well. And so it's expanded from just cancer to now other non-cancer terminal illnesses, such as dementia, such as heart disease, such as lung disease, and other life-limiting medical conditions. And so I also saw persons of all ages who benefited from hospice care. I'll never forget, there was a patient who was 30, and I was 30 when I had to be her chaplain. And it was very shocking to me because from what I knew, hospice was normally for those who were old, those who were senior citizens, those who were up in age. But I want to let you know that hospice is for persons of all ages. There is, believe it or not, a children's hospice, because there are children who do have terminal illnesses. And so hospice is for persons of all ages. Hospice is for persons of all cultures and backgrounds and religious faiths. So it's not just for Christians. We have hospice for Muslims. There are chaplains who are Muslim. There are Catholic priests who also serve as chaplains. There are Buddhists who also serve as chaplains. So I would like to say that, you know, it's not reserved for only a certain faith group of people. I had the wonderful benefit of seeing a couple, I would say maybe two persons, come off what I'd like to call come off of hospice. Usually, if a person does not pass in a 6-month period, then there is a recertification period that the doctor goes through or utilizes. And if that person still has that terminal illness, the doctor will thus recertify them once again. However, if the person does not show signs of having that terminal illness anymore after that 6-month period is over and they're still living, then they will be removed from hospice. And until they can show that they are terminally ill once again, they have no need to be in hospice care. And so that's a wonderful thing when your family member can come off of hospice and show signs of improvement and sometimes no longer have that terminal illness displayed in their body. However, you just need to know that your family member or loved one will not be removed out of hospice care if they do not pass in 6 months. And so I want to say to the African American community and all others who are watching, hospice care, yes, may be something that you don't want to think about, you don't want to consider, but do know it is there for you. It is there for your loved one. If you do have to make that decision, if you need some help, if you need some other people who can come in and help you with your loved one, you don't have to do it alone. And so we do want to consider hospice care today. There are some great persons who work in hospice, great, loving, kind individuals who can help you to care for your loved one. Just know hospice care is there for you on today. Well, it's that time again. I hope that you have enjoyed the wonderful topics that I brought to you on today. Thanks again for always tuning in to the Bishop Allyson Abrams Show. I look forward to bringing you new and exciting topics that are sure to stir your soul. The Bishop Allyson Abrams Show is the place where you can hear trending topics and honest opinion. Tune in each week and remember, truth empowers.
You see, church, I just believe that we would really look back over our lives and think things over. We would never, ever, ever stop praising the Lord. We couldn't praise God enough for all that God has done. There would be a praise in our spirit when we wake up. There would be a praise in our spirit in the noonday. There would be a praise in our spirit in the midnight hour because of how worthy God is of our praise. What better God to praise, church, than the God who can still say yes when man says no. But I know the Lord is worthy. I know the Lord is worthy of my praise. The Lord is worthy, church, because He woke you up this morning and started you on